I'm ready, sir. All right, good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. The regular session of the Cascade School District Board of Directors will now convene in the Cascade High School Library and via Zoom. The laws governing boards of education require that their work be done where the public can observe their actions. Please remember that this is the board's meeting for the public to observe. Others may participate only with the approval of the board. Please rise to the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we've got a guest list. Is that going around?
No, it's okay.
Has anyone not signed the guest list? Fabulous. Thank you, everyone. Number 4 is approval of the minutes from April 11th, 2022.
I move to approve minutes from April 11, 2022. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 11, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 5, prioritize the agenda. Mr. Drill.
Straight down the line. I think we're able to do that in the correct order. That's what I'm trying to say.
You got it. Thank you. Okay. Number 6A, Superintendent's report. Mr. Drill.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our May meeting. I can't believe it. We're down to just a couple left. And before we get to our next meeting, we'll have a big, huge gathering out on the football field for graduation. So I'm sure Mr. Rasmussen will talk a little bit about that. Just a couple of things. You guys have my report in front of you. As you all probably have heard by now, early Saturday morning, April 23rd, we had a fire at Cloverdale. One of those modulars, the electrical short on the outside, caught it on fire, went up the side of it and got the roof, and then essentially the upper part of the building caught on fire. What I was talking today with Mr. Ramey about it. What amazed me was how quickly Turner responded. When you got there and took a look at it, obviously the modular is a loss with all the water damage, but from a fire perspective, I was shocked by how quickly our Turner Fire folks got out there. I want to thank them very much, and all first responders for Turner did an amazing job of getting out there and helping us take care of Cloverdale. Would like to also thank Mr. Dyer. He didn't know I was going to say that, but here's a guy getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think the story goes his wife wasn't home, so he had to throw all of his kids in the truck Saturday morning at 4 o'clock and out there. Our maintenance staff was there a little bit later. And not only did that happen, I'm sure Mr. Dyer will talk about it a little bit, but as you know, it doesn't surprise me, Cloverdale staff got all together over the course of the weekend and did some nice things. I'll leave it to Mr. Dyer to explain that, but pretty amazing stuff that on Monday morning, our 5th grade classroom, that's the classroom that was destroyed, right? They had school Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and they were there taking care of business. So we want to thank a lot of people for getting out there. Our maintenance staff was out. A couple of guys were out there all weekend. They were boarding things up. They made sure things were secure. It just, you know, once again, in a small community like ours, that's what happens. And really, really just appreciate how that was handled. Mr. Dyer, thank you very much for taking care of business out there. And I know others took care of that as well, but I want to say thank you to that. The other thing is, for the first time, you've noticed in the enrollment, the first time all year, our enrollment is starting to come down. That's fairly normal in the spring. We've got to go back a couple years for it to be quote normal. But the reality is that we start having, particularly folks at our Opportunity Center, our students start to graduate early. And remember, these are students that probably may not have graduated at all. So they are in the process of going through and taking care of business. We do have a few moves in the springtime. It's a time for people to begin to get active and moving. But our numbers are still above 2,500, 2,530, I think 2,535. So we are still above where we didn't even think we would be for the entire year. So questions from me?
I have a question.
Yes,
where are we at with insurance in the classroom that was affected in Cloverdale?
Funny you should say that. I have an expert in the audience. Mr. Piller, would you like to let them know what we found out?
Sure, we have full replacement coverage. So the insurance adjusters come out, and I have another call scheduled with him tomorrow morning. But the last conversation we've had is the replacement coverage is going to be full and complete. we did budget some extra money in that insurance reserve fund to allow us to potentially look at getting a larger classroom in there, replacing that current classroom. And with PACE, our liability and fire insurance company, they allow that to do that. So they'll give us whatever the cost to replace, the regular 5th grade classroom, whatever size that is, the most common built size, and then we'll expand on that. So it'll get some space actually.
So like we were saying, the upside is that, you guys toured Turner tonight and took a look at that. And we talked to the 2 or 3 people that really helped us in that project, right? The full excavation, modern building, right? Mr. Lovell, who was in charge of all that kind of thing. Bottom line is that they're already talking about what that looks like for Cloverdale. So we're working on that. Mr. Dyer, we talked to him a little bit about that. So we are looking to see if we can get that taken care of as soon as possible.
So the old one out,
Maybe more than one.
yeah.
That's what we're hoping for. So we'll take a look at the numbers and see what it is. We may need to come back and talk to you about the use of our ESTA $3, more of our building and site dollars. We'll take a look, our CEG, construction excise tax dollars. We'll take a look and see. We'll get back to you as soon as we can when we have the numbers. Great question. Other questions?
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Going down B, Finance Director's report. Mr. Tiller, and before you start, thank you again for the budget, everything you had for our meeting at 6 o'clock today.
You're
You
welcome.
and your entire team. Much
Well, thank you
appreciated.
very much. I will pass that along to them.
Thank
It is a team effort, and I appreciate that very much. Because of that budget, I do not have a written report for you. So if you're eagerly waiting to read all my wonderful prose, it's not in it. So I do have a financial report for you. And as you can see, our ending fund balance is looking solid for the end of the year. We've got one more state school fund payment that we're going to receive. And we also get the May adjustment. I found out today that the May adjustment, which is and sometimes we call it the May surprise because it has gone down for districts, but our May adjustment this year is a positive of $421,000. So we'll get a state school fund, which is typically 1.9 million for us, a little over that, plus an extra $400,000 for in the state school fund for next month. That hits on Monday the 16th. Are there any questions? And I can say also I haven't had a chance to talk to Tom. He and I haven't spoken yet, but on Friday he was touring with the seismic grant contractors to determine where all the work has to be done and which walls are going to be affected in the junior high. We're on time for that so far. And as soon as school gets out, we're going to get in there and start tearing out walls. We don't actually tear out walls, we support them. So we're going to be working on that pretty diligently, but I don't have a lot of details except to say that we are on time with that project.
Nice. Okay.
Is there anything else?
Any questions? No.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Mr. Phil. Appreciate it. Going on is C, high school principals report. Rasmussen.
Good evening, you guys. You have my report in front of you. I'm going to be short today because Tony's going to share her annual report as vice principal and first report. So it'll be exciting. Quick thing this week, our band is going back to state competition, and so kudos for Allie Greenwell to get the kids back in shape after COVID. Running band for the last 2 years has been difficult, but so kudos to her this year and getting kids back together. So great things happening. I gave you a list of things, positive things are happening at the high school, and we're just excited about keep marching forward, heading towards graduation. We'd like to formally invite all of you to graduation on our football field on June 8th, Wednesday evening. Historically, we've been Wednesdays forever. Used to be our old date at the Armory, so we just kept Wednesdays. So we're asked why Wednesdays, that's it. So our senior parents have done a fantastic job raising funds for All My Party. And the guidance of Mr. and Mrs. Shepp, they've just done incredible jobs of raising dollars. It's going to be an outstanding event for those kids. So,
Where are they going?
pardon me?
Where are they going?
They selected a place up in Sherwood, Langer Farm Entertainment Center, or something like that.
They will, they'll have a blast.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been, so they're excited about that. Should be great.
So I want to ask a question about that. We've got a graduating class of 140 students. The 8th grade class coming up behind it is 217. The class behind that is 213, and the class behind that is 196. In 2 years, if everything stays the same, right now we've got 686 kids. We're going to go up to 816.
So two things there. One, the senior class is artificially small because we do have a bunch of early graduators. So that 140 is representing kids in attendance currently.
All right, fair
I've
enough.
got at least a dozen kids who graduate early. Pandemic hit, they got credits online. They're like, I'm out. I'm doing something else.
Okay.
So a bunch of those kids.
So we just got rid of 12 kids.
Yep. I pitched the same argument to Mr.
I'm
Drill,
just
and he
saying.
is supporting us in staffing. But then some of those kids will end up out at our community center with Ms. Thompson. And so those numbers, the class comes in big and they always end up slowly floating down. I'm going to argue that I think they don't float down as much as Mr. Drill might think they do, because we're always looking for helping support more kids here. But we're going to look at that for sure. They are, being junior high the last couple of years, these two classes, the current 7th, 8th grade classes are huge. We've never had that big of a class back to back. We've had a big one, then an average or a small one, but never staggered back to back. And so I know Mrs. Leday's been working hard at that this year and managing that. We as a freshman class are going to have 9 sections of common classes next year. So it's a big deal. And our freshman class is a good sized class already as well. So it's not like they're small. Our current freshman sophomore classes are good sized, and our junior seniors are on the smaller side. Well, what used to be average, but now they're small. Yeah, so numbers keep coming. We're looking at converting an old weight room into a classroom, possibly trying to do something with 10A. We're looking for classroom space. So it's a discussion Mr. Drill and I have had, and we'll keep looking at it.
He has done a great job of advocating. Every other time he's in the office, he's talking about it. So we're looking at that. And like we said earlier in the budget meeting, Mr. Thatcher talked about it. Modulars at the junior high, right? We have high school kids that go to junior high, it takes some pressure off. It allows for a couple more spaces. So we're looking at that process as we go. So
Good.
we'll get there. It's in conversation.
Okay, wonderful. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. Appreciate it.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm Tony Walisa, as Mr. Rasmussen said, this is my first board report. I'm the CTE director here at the high school with the district. One of the big things I do is work with the Measure 98 funds, which Lisa Iverson, fantastic trainer in getting me understanding that last year. I know I had 1.5 million questions, so thank you. I still ask her 1.5 million. So Measure 98 is, you guys have heard in the past with Lisa, broke up into 3 separate buckets of funding. So you have your college level opportunities, Dropout Prevention, and CTE. So everybody should have my board report, and we had to divide up a PowerPoint along with a few slides so you can see some great pictures of what some of our students are doing in those classes. So as you're going through that, it's separated by those buckets. And so first what I'm going to talk about a little bit is what great things are happening in our CTE department. So we have our programs of study, our CTEs, we have agriculture, manufacturing, wood shop, and auto kind of linked together under that manufacturing program, a culinary and a health services. And some really fun things that are happening in our ag department. Mr. Brill, new teacher, really building and growing the program, working with the FFA and bringing it back and reviving it. COVID really hit their numbers pretty hard. He's had such full classrooms, he's actually looking to expand to a different location for his FFA needs. So that's been pretty great. He has also received the Wilco grant and has been teaching students in advanced ag how to put up new fencing in order to make the livestock that they're keeping even safer, prevent them from getting into the canal and onto the roads. You know, we had a few pigs that were Houdinis over the last few years and trying to get out in the middle of the road. So hopefully we prevent any traffic incidents by having our students learn hands-on how to do that. He also was a recipient of the MWAC grant and is going to be getting expanding out to a natural resources and ecology class, and where they're going to be doing a lot of hands-on activities using the streams and the canals to teach students about invasive species, utilize the resources that are found around the land lab, and get some pretty cool equipment set up for students. So some great things in ag. Our culinary department, huge shout out to Ms. Branchin, who is also an MREC grant recipient, and getting a new air crisper, which to the extent of my knowledge is a very large industrial size air fryer that makes frying safer for students in that environment and can expand out the culinary opportunities that they have. So she is doing some great things, still doing as many culinary events during COVID as she can, including having guest speakers from Lynn Benton Community College that came in to talk about what culinary programs are being offered, and is doing Zoom setups with schools out in Bend and talking to them about their culinary programs as well. So lots of fun things there. John Iverson, always amazing, working with Riverbend Materials as one of his industry connected partners with the city of Almsville and city of Turner, making signs in the peace tree ceremony, which was beautiful, partnered up. Turner Elementary got to be there. Amazing opportunity to see some of the handiwork that our manufacturing students have done. Tom Potachik, taking groups of 19 students to construction day to teach them about trades that are in the area and helping with some projects connecting the Turner Community Gardens by helping to cut the wood and build for bird boxes and bee houses and things along those lines. So lots of fun things there. To a new lift in our automotive department. So students are getting lift certified and getting hands-on experience working with cars that are being able in a real car with real environment in a mechanic shop. Other ones, health services, Mrs. Cox, amazing at creating connections, working with the chat program with Turner Fire, which is a community health and assessment team. So her students who are able to go out and partner up with local paramedics and go into the community and do health assessments on individuals around, provide preventative care in order to mitigate any sort of emergency situations that may arise, while their students are learning about how to take vital signs. They're working and partnering up with local EMTs. So lots of good hands-on learning there. Dropout prevention, and you look at items like our creativity club, book club, a lot of the clubs on campus that are funded through that activity. RC club, drones in flight. Students are learning how to build their own drones and the steps at which it takes to go through the process and various careers that are involved with that. We have search and rescue out here that was discussing how drones are utilized to help find people in those environments. Lots of guest experiences. They're going up to the Salem airport to talk about careers in flight. So there's a lot of different fun activities that he's doing and operating there. So lots of great clubs funded out of that, and then college level opportunities. We have over 53 students. I think if the final list, Mr. Rasmussen was showing me, is about 72 students who actually have taken college credits now in high school. And those college credits are paid for out of the Measure 98 fund. So those students are able to get those college credits now, while also not having to worry about the cost that comes along with getting a jump start on college. Other things, SATs, we were able to help purchase and pay for the SATs for students who are interested in taking that, to help relieve some of that financial cost as well. We also have Mrs. Boffman, who has started a pilot emergent or biliteracy seal, which is working with students who are bilingual and able to get them proficiency-based grading on college level testing for biliteracy. So when they leave, they'll have a specialized seal that's on their diploma and the potential to earn college credit based off their score. As a pilot year, we had 15 students, juniors and seniors, that took it. And so far, they're still grading it. We're at 6 of them or so that have passed. And so lots of great things. Her and Ms. Rojas also received the Emergent Bilingual grant, which was through ODE, and they're actually building lesson plans and having them tested through ODE that partners our ELL mentorship program and leveled readers to help encourage emergent bilingual ELLs in how to advance in reading, and partnered with our librarian. They're actually ordered level reading books in order to help emergent bilinguals become more adept and able to participate in classes. Any questions? I know that's a lot. Everyone's here.
It's a wow.
It's a wow. It's a lot of information. It's a lot there. I wrote everything down there. I tried to be more detailed in my report.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How are our kids doing at the academy?
Oh, yes. Well, that would be a big one. As I go through everything, I'm like, I forgot something. Let's forget that one. No, the Willamette Career Academy has been going great. So we have about 15 students who are currently still enrolled. We had a few that decided after a few months in the program that it wasn't exactly the fit that they were looking for. And it could have been for other reasons, scheduling conflicts, time, things. It wasn't really what they had expected, the difference going from one school to the other. But we did just go through a rounds of interviews for our second wave of applicants. So currently they have 3 programs. You have your health services, diesel technology, and cosmetology. And then next year they're adding a manufacturing, a construction, and an IT. And we ended up having another 21 that applied and will be participating next year.
Okay, and then how many, will all 21 get to go?
Those 21 plus the ones that we have now, at this point, those 21 have said yes.
Okay, and then the students that didn't work out there for whatever reason,
Mhm.
they're back here at Cascade.
Yes.
Okay. They were
Some of them
able to
attended our
transfer.
opportunity center while other
Okay.
ones were not. Yeah,
Okay,
good question. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask one last question. On
Amazing.
this, there's 3 buckets, dropout, college, and CTE.
Yes.
How many students do we have that are involved in CTE?
Oh, that's a great question, because we have our various programs of study. So
Right.
the difference with that would be anybody who becomes a part or a class. You could even go with our junior high and our college career lab. Any of those are taking a CTE leveled course. So those enrollments, if I was looking at Dawn Branch's numbers for last year, going through and just kind of viewing, she served over 182 students last year alone
Okay.
in just culinary. So those are classes throughout every trimester. That's, I don't have a breakdown of the demographics on my computer. If you're interested, I can share some of that, however that would work. But she has every class with as many students ranging from about 27 in some classes up to 30. Her culinary class was about 14 to 18, and that'd be her advanced students. But as they go through these programs of study, they can become program completers, which is amazing because you get your cords at graduation, you become a program completer and say, I have gone through this program, I have learned these skills. I know with John Iverson's program, they have a pre-apprenticeship program that we're really going to be pushing next year that partners with Shemeketa to get students points towards apprenticeships and giving them the ability to go straight out of high school and be higher earning careers.
Okay.
A lot. There's a lot of kids.
Right.
But, yeah. Can you kind of pull that together?
Yeah.
Just say, would you guesstimate?
Well, if it was just 170 some in culinary alone, you look at John's classes, which are full, yeah, I mean, anywhere up to 30 to 32 students each.
Half our kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're looking at half to 70% of our students that are taking CTE
Okay.
courses.
Okay. Wonderful.
And it doesn't even include, we have, 82 students involved in Creativity Club this year, somewhere around that between the after-school based program, after-school tutoring, which we're up to 104 students that have accessed after-school tutoring in the last few months.
Okay.
So
Okay,
lots of
wonderful.
different numbers.
Good. Thank you.
We have kids that are like taking, do we have kids that are taking like a culinary and an FFA in like agriculture and
Oh,
that
yeah.
are doing all the things?
They do a variety of
Okay.
them. Well, so we have a bunch of students who will take wood shop with Mr. Kotachic, but
Right.
still enjoy taking culinary with Ms. Branchin.
Okay,
So,
got it. Perfect.
Thank you for that. Appreciate
yeah.
it.
Anything else?
I just wanted to say thank you. I've never met you personally, but I've heard nothing but great things about you, and you obviously love kids. And
I enjoy my job. It makes it
I
so
can
much fun
tell.
to do.
I can tell.
She's also the assistant director of special education.
Oh, figures, okay.
Well, there we go. Cheers.
Well, I've heard your name a lot. Like I said, we've never met, but we appreciate what you do in this district.
So thank you. This district makes it easy to really love what I do.
Yes,
I wouldn't want to
I
be
would
anywhere else.
agree.
And I concur, it's been amazing to work with Tony this year. I knew her by reputation only and it's been fantastic. So, you know, we run all these programs at school and it sounds like a lot, but in reality, you have to have quality people running these programs. And so we have an amazing person heading all these programs, but all these programs you're listening to are staffed and headed by amazing staff members. And so, you know, you can't just say, we want to do this and don't have a person to back it up, because it's always people, not programs. And so that's where we're at, and it's fantastic. So Tony's leading the way on it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming tonight. All right, moving on. We've got junior high principals report.
Miss Lede is not here.
Today.
Okay, last month she was out of door school, right? She came to me and she said, so my son plays baseball and they're playing at Oregon State tonight. They got the game at Oregon State's field. And I'm like, yes, you can go. So she said, please review her report. If you have any questions, you can call her or you can make Arnie answer them because he's next. I don't know if she told you that she was gonna.
She texted me about an hour ago.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So anyway, that's what she said. And I said, you've got to go watch your kid play at Oregon State. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Okay, with that being said, junior high assistant principals report, Mr. Louder. Welcome.
All right. Hi there. Thank you. You have my report in front of you. I just divided it in 3 sections. Those are 3 of the main hats that I wear. One of them is discipline. And this time around, the last 2 pages of it is our referral data. And I gave you everything. when Pete and I started at the junior high, we decided we were going to do this spreadsheet of referrals just to kind of find trends and stuff like that. So that's kind of what we look at. It's not always apples to apples because kids change, and obviously, you rotate every 3 years, a whole new crew of kids through the building. But something that he had noticed several years ago that kind of threw me off is February is a busy month. I don't know why. I mean, we can say November and December are because you come up to the holidays, kids are going to take a couple weeks off. And May is busy because you're coming to the end of the year and stuff. But why February is a busy month? Maybe it's Valentine's Day. I don't know. The second part is I'm the 504 manager in the junior high, and I just noticed the second paragraph, forget everything after the first sentence because the numbers don't match. But that's a caseload of 504s that I manage. There's some that say inactive. That is because kids either didn't return from last year, so I still had their file, or we had a couple kids who started the school year, either came in with a 504 and then they, for whatever reason, went somewhere else.
Can you explain 504? What does that mean to us?
Yeah, well, I tried to explain it in the text and I did a horrible job. Then I saw that Mrs. Cromwell had this addition in there, and it has a much better definition. It's similar to an IEP. It's used for students who don't need specialized instruction. They just need access to the curriculum. They may have a medical condition like ADHD or anxiety or something of that nature, and they just need it puts them on a level playing field with their peers, like maybe preferential seating or frequent check-ins from the teacher or things like that. It doesn't put them in a resource room. It doesn't give them necessarily an IA to help them out or anything like that.
Does the 504 require a doctor to be involved? Is it purely the parents?
Requires both. We have to have a medical diagnosis.
Okay.
And then to get it started, the parent does have to be involved.
Right, but there has to be medical. It can't just be a parent saying, hey, I want something. I want
Correct.
to have my child, you have a 504 without having a doctor of some type involved.
Correct.
Okay.
Although I was at a training in Mount Angel with Winston Cornwall, and he mentioned something about that you can on occasion put symptoms of something and go beyond a medical diagnosis.
Again,
But-
just having the parent say, hey.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
But if you do that, then everybody's gonna have.
that's why I asked the question.
And then the last hat I wear is athletics. And I just listed our participants and our coaches this year. And again, I have a spreadsheet for that too. And one thing was really excited this year is if you look at our numbers, 426 athletes for the whole school year, that's pretty incredible. In our league, there are middle schools who were having a hard time getting a 7th grade boys basketball team put together. And these are schools that normally will have an A and a B team. They were really struggling. We never had that. In fact, we had 3 7th grade boys teams this year. And so that's making more schedules and finding more teams for the extra team. I'll tell you, the spring was a lot more fun than the fall. With all the COVID stuff in the fall, I was canceling volleyball games because other schools had their whole teams were quarantined. Fortunately, we never had that happen. We did have students or a small group of students who were quarantined for a while, but we never had to cancel because our team was quarantined. So I was very thankful for that. So the year is not necessarily normal, but it kind of felt getting back to normal a little bit by getting the girls back on a volleyball court, the boys on a football field and soccer field and all that kind of stuff. But it did have its challenges this year. Thank you.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Ryan?
Thank you for doing that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Moving on to 4G elementary principals report. We've got Mr. Dyer and Ms. Iverson.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'll start off first here. I'm gonna be kind of quick, it looks like assistant principal are presenting today. So, but first off, I want to talk about the fire. We had, well, obviously you guys already heard Mr. Drill talk. I do want to say thank you to Turner Fire Department. Going out there at 4 in the morning, it was impressive to see just the overall professionalism of the whole organization. And when I say professionalism, that's the best way I can describe it. I work with these guys doing safety plans or doing different things. I know a lot of people in the community. And just when you walk up, it's like game face was on. And it was just like they had a job to do, they had a mission. It was always nice to see friendly faces fighting the fire. Mr. Reed, the first person that came up to me, he's like, Mr. Dyer, we got things that we're fighting it right now. Please stand right here. And he went on and just did his business. And it was just, and everything was like this machine. It was just so cool to watch. And that's why I think the fire department, they drill so much in what they do. And then having to be in a volunteer fire department as well, it was just very impressive and just answering questions. Everybody from John, Jordan, to George that came out with the inspection afterwards, just asked me, is there any questions you need answered? Is there anything else you need? What can we do for you to make this process easier? And so it was really nice to have friendly faces and to have those relationships pre-fire because it made things a heck of a lot easier. Great big thanks out to maintenance. Joe Lule, he sent out Olin, was out there. Actually, Olin beat me out there by about 5-7 minutes. And so he was out there before I was out there. And he stayed out there the whole time. And he was just, he was rock solid out there, just doing things. Came out there, boarded things up, moved things for us, which was awesome. And also came back and was in charge of getting the alarm set up and resetting things and just making sure that was done. The other one I do want to, Michael, setting up the classroom, sent out Chris, our new tech worker, and he was just phenomenal. He checked in with the grams every single day for the next week and just kind of saying, hey, is there anything I can do for you? And just, and it wasn't even much, it was just a friendly smile and say, what can I do for you? So that was great. The staff at Cloverdale was impressive. The day on Sunday afterwards, we moved the classroom out. And we set up, it was a Lego robotics room, kind of our science STEM room kind of thing that we had. We cleared that out and able to move a 5th grade classroom in and set it up with name tags, desks, tables, chairs, everything, and we did it in 3 hours. So if you ever taught, usually setting up a classroom would probably take a solid week, 2 weeks. And we did it, everybody was there. I would say 99% of my staff was there. With their husbands, we had one that was gone because they were out of town on softball tournament in Southern Oregon. Everybody else showed up and just did what they needed to do. Very impressive. Also, I want to thank everybody else that sent text messages because they just were checking in on me, checking in on the school, how can we help? And it was one of those things I was trying to push people away, just in the fact of too many cooks in the kitchen, and it just would have been too much. And we just needed to do what we needed to do. And Darren was right. I think we probably missed a half day of instruction, if that tops. And we were just like, no, we'll get back to work. We have stuff to do, and that's what we did. And it's just we just moved on. So that was it. You guys have any questions about the fire or anything? Okay. All right, and then so the other one that I want to talk about is Eastern Oregon trip. Just asking your guys, letting you guys know that we are taking an overnighter trip to Eastern Oregon to study the Oregon Trail with our 4th grade classroom. We're going to Baker City. There's an Oregon Trail center there, and we'll take the kids. They've been raising money. We'll use some of our ESSER money as well to kind of go there as well. And it's going to be a great experience. This is Ishi in the 4th grade class, and Ms. Ishi does a phenomenal job. So don't want to talk too much about that. We'll talk more about it next year when they come back, or my next board report. The other thing I want to talk about, when we talk about community, going back to fire, I'm going to talk about this before, but we put in a softball field at Cloverdale. We needed one. It was all lumped, just gopher holes out there, and it's terrible. And so we ended up 25 dads came out there. It was the awesomest thing I've ever seen, because talking about putting a field in, they put it in probably within 6-7 hours. We had estimators, tractors, sod cutters, and we put in a brand new softball field. And if you go out there on a Tuesday, Thursday night, there's kids and families out there playing softball. And it's super, super awesome to see that. And again, it's another example of community coming together and say, hey, we want to get something done. Let's do it. Let's get it done. So that was pretty cool to see that as well. And then finally, I want to talk about and my board report, you notice that we are taking a lot of field trips at the end. So we have a lot of activities planned, a lot of cool things. But one of the things we wanted to highlight was just not going somewhere and doing something, but giving these kids experiences, giving them a skill. In 5th grade, in the upper grade, so we're actually doing, we partnered with Turner Fire Department. It's actually before the fires, because we do work with them on a regular basis. So they're coming out, Jordan and his crew. We're coming out and we're teaching kids basic first aid and CPR. And so, because during the pandemic, we were realizing that kids were at home with their younger siblings. And we wanted to make sure that these kids knew how to, when the emergency happened, what do they need to do? And so we used some of our money and we created first aid kits. So all these kids that came out here, we're doing it for the next 3 weeks. So coming out once a week for about an hour. And we're teaching kids about first aid. And we're teaching them what to do, who to call, all that kind of stuff. And so the kids will actually leave with something like that. Inside there's like numbers and stuff like that. And so they have this in the house and they just have this to kind of go. And so safety, just because next year, if anything does happen, or they have to be babysitting, they know what to do. So that helps out. Along with that, we got swim lessons through, I think the Juanas in Silverton. And so it's 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. It's taking swim lessons to make sure that because there's a lot of swimming out here and just want to make sure that they're safe. And so we're doing that as I think it's 2 weeks, I think something like that. We're doing some swimming that way. So other than that, that's where we're kind of at. Any questions for me?
No.
Busy.
Appreciate it.
It is busy, but it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of fun. So,
Good.
but again, appreciate all your support.
Good job.
Thank you.
Is that, are you gonna go now? Are we? Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and thank you for visiting Turner Elementary. I've talked a lot about Turner on the tour, so Sarah, you want to talk about a couple highlights? And then when she's finished, I just want to mention, give you an update on the bike park, because I don't know where that fits in anymore.
Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you for coming today. We really appreciate it. And you're always welcome to come back when the kids are there. The lively times. So on the board report, I just wanted to highlight a few things that we're going to focus on more next year. One is Avid. In our professional developments, we've really tried to focus on Avid and just demonstrate those strategies where we're going to really look for more implementation next year in the classroom. A key piece of Avid is writing, and we're actually implementing a new writing program that's Cloverdale's been using for several years. Yeah, 3 years, and with great success. So it's a foundational program that will give us great alignment with vertical alignment with K through 5. And then it also reinforces like genre writing and stuff. So we're super excited about that. We've ordered that. That's in. And so the teachers can look out at it. And then we'll focus on it next year, where this year we focus more on professional development with math. Next year will be more of a writing focus. So we're super excited about that. Last time I talked about the behavior program. So we're moving strong with that. A couple more things we're going to implement are a behavior matrix that we still have to do this year. And then we have our behavior committee that continues to meet, and our character traits will go full force with those next year again. So that was it. So go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks.
Did you have any questions about any favorite art department?
Right, thanks for coming out today. That was fun. And I did want to mention the bike park. About a little over a year ago, John Iverson and I were taking our boys to all these different bike parks. And we kind of had a vision for the area on campus out past Lindy's that is an overgrown blackberry forest that doesn't see a lot of use except kids playing hide and seek and doing gosh knows what. So we had a vision for this bike park, and we started raising funds, and we have approximately $30,000 raised in grants and donations that we haven't had to use yet, because the entire forest, sometime if the gates open, drive past there and see, because the entire forest has been cleared. We're actually to the point now, the last few weeks, where we've been building bike trails. It's also going to be a beautiful place to walk. People are going to be able to go out there with their families, sit at picnic tables and watch their kids bike. And separately, and it's not necessarily having to do with a bike park, I wrote a pretty competitive grant to have a bike program at our school. And they just delivered the bikes 3 weeks ago. And now our junior high, thanks to Casey Level, agreeing to implement this program. We'll have 25 specialized mountain bikes that our high school classes can also use. It wasn't contingent on a bike park. Most schools throughout the United States do this bike program, even in parking lots or gymnasiums. The idea is you get middle school kids to bike and they will be lifelong bikers. And we have no places that are safe to ride around our campus. So as far as when this vision started, I did not realize I would be at Turner, but we have started building the trails again. And I envision some weekend and specialized programming at the bike park where we can have a learn to bike day, we can have a women's mountain bike clinic. So that's something that I think will be full speed ahead in the fall. But we have the bikes, we have a park that is getting started. And we also have some really cool features that the manufacturing class has made that are in that board report and in the pictures. So it's really starting to look like something the last month or so. Any questions about the bike park? Oh, the Cascade Adventure Bike Park.
So it's behind Lindy's, so it's gate will be open then year round to get into there.
When Lindy's is open, people will have access. We talked about possibly dusk to dawn of the gate being open, but people will never be able to drive back there. They would park where they currently park for baseball. And there's always a foot gate open where people would be able to take their bikes.
Okay.
The RC class is also looking at building their RC park area right across there. So it would be a really great place for families to go where they could do the RC track, which would be across the way. And the whole one side of the forest is turned into a bike park. I was out there the last couple of weekends with my bike. It's not perfect, but it is rideable. But by next fall, I envision it will be a great place to ride for all levels.
Very nice.
And then we'll be able to have events where we take the bikes out there from the grant too. But that grant was worth about $23,000 worth of mountain bikes and helmets and came with a curriculum. The obligation is for Casey to teach that for 3 years, 6 weeks each. And he's going to start that this spring and get 1 year under his belt. And again, thanks to Tony for being on this campus because we had to secure a location for the bikes and some of that, those details that she helped take care of. Any questions about the bike park?
So where are those bikes all going to be stored, all these specialized bikes?
Well, we have a shipping container that was actually placed out by the egg building that is secure and will store the bikes. And we're eventually, I'm hopeful to get a camera facing that so that they will be secure.
And how does it work for someone to check those out?
As far as for class, we had both KCI and actually Tony, we went through a training. And once we completed that training, then the bikes were released to us. We also partnered with Scott Seifler, Moses Keener, former Cascade student, gave us a great deal to put them all together. They can't just be checked out for general use, but starting next fall, I'm planning on having some different programs and weekends where we take the bikes out to the manufacturing trailer that we received in a grant, and we allow people to try them out, make sure they have proper guidance and helmets. And then, once I get my head above water at Turner, I'm hoping to do more on weekends with biking. Because I'm really an advocate for all ages for biking.
So do we have helmets to go with these?
Yeah, they all
25
came
bikes?
with it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And they're nice bikes. These are like top of the line specialized bikes. And this was a really competitive grant. We had to go through interviews and lots of hoops and lots of questions to get those.
Wonderful.
Any questions about it?
I don't know about that, but what's the name of your room at your school again? Activity room?
Well, it's going to be the SS STEAM room because I'm going to get a trunk for stuff from around the world. So social studies, and science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So the SS STEAM room is what we call it.
Oh, STEAM. Yeah. I just wanted to.
But you gotta say no.
I'm really impressed with that.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. It was fun having you there.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we've got, Cromwell, hello.
Hello. My report will be quick and exciting, of course. So I'm just here to let you know that at Bonneville, we, of course, have been hearing and connecting just like everybody else has talked about tonight. And I wanted to share with you, after looking at some data, however you choose to say that word. This year, we made several changes that was not always easy for adults, myself included, but we knew it was best for kids. So here are a few of those things. We moved all of our special ed programs from the very flooding, leaking 3-5 building over to the K2 building. Put them in a beautiful wing of the K2 building with all natural light, and it has been wonderful. Those staff people have been able to communicate effectively and efficiently, and the kids have been a lot more settled. It's been awesome. Another thing we've done is we noticed a huge uptick in traffic between our 3-5 building and our K2 building with our younger students going to our reset room where we have a skills trainer to help settle our kids down, calm their brains down so that they can get right back to class. So we thought after, 100 radio calls in 7 minutes or something, so-and-so's heading over to the 3-5 building. Okay, I'll get the door, back and forth, back and forth. Why don't we move that reset room over to the K2 building? But in order to do that, that required moving 3 different spaces from the K2 over to the 3-5. So that involved inconveniencing adults to help take care of kids. And all of those adults happily did that. So that was awesome. And it helped a lot. It's conveniently located in the kindergarten wing. We also started a K1 intervention room so that we could help our students, our youngest students who were having a hard time accessing school academically and social emotionally, just knowing how to be at school. Just giving them that extra lift with one of our highly trained and skilled instructional assistants. She's able to give them what they need. They are not in there all day. They're in there a short amount of time, and then they pop back to their regular classroom teacher. Last but not least, I would like to highlight, our counselors have used data, and DESA. It's in your acronym list, right? And they've taken, it's a social emotional, help me with these words. Inventory, excellent. Every teacher has done a social emotional inventory on every student in our school, and it's shown where their areas for growth are. And our counselors were able to take those and break our kids up into small groups and do small group instruction with some of our students with highest need in the areas of social emotional. There were 6 areas. So that's been awesome. Of most exciting importance, I would like to draw your attention to. You might or might not know that Almsville houses 6 of the Cascade Elementary School special ed programs. And so for the last few years, it's been kind of a dream of ours to create an accessible and inclusive playground at our school. Right now, our playground is not inclusive and it is not accessible. What does that mean? Well, that means if I am a student who is in a wheelchair, I can go onto the blacktop if it's not flooded, and I can shoot a basketball, or I can use a hockey stick that Mr. Winter or myself have cut down short enough for me to hit a ball, and then wheel my chair down and go get that ball and hit it down to the next end. That is not fair. So I've been working really hard with some playground engineers over the last several months to create a playground for all of our students, so that they can all play together and be included together. And I've included maybe just one picture, but if you want more, I can give you some more. What else can I answer for you? Right now, we're at the point where we have some final plans drawn up. It's gone through engineering many, many times, and I think they're probably tired of hearing from me, but that's okay, that's their job. We have surfacing that we're talking about. Originally, I thought our surfacing would be pour in place rubber surfacing, but we found out that's probably not the best for where we're at. It doesn't hold up well to bicycle traffic, and where we're at, our playground's very accessible to our community, which we want it to be. right? It's a public park after hours. So our surfacing will be primarily playground turf. Great. What else?
Where's it gonna be?
It will be where the current playground is right now.
Does this current playground flood?
It does. So that's one thing that we'll be doing first. We have to address the water table issue and the flooding issue. And Mr. Lovell will be meeting with me soon to look at that. He will be my co-project manager. Don, what are you doing? He will be helping me with this. Gosh,
Talk to Lisa about how that works. Just go from there. All right.
I mean, you can work with.
There you go. There you go.
You work with, right? Back in maybe.
So is everything that's there coming out, or is this in addition to?
Most of the equipment that is there will be coming out, not all of it. There are two ginormous structures that will stay. The surfacing underneath will be replaced. Some of the equipment will be saved for future phases. So eventually, someday, maybe there'll be an exercise path put around the entire perimeter that we can use some of the equipment for that, but most of the equipment will go away.
Okay, because several years ago, there were issues with rust and
Yes.
falling apart and dangerous issues, stuff like that. So swing set stays or go?
Replaced. Got a new one on there.
Got a new one on there. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying, you know.
Yep.
The map, is the map still there? The painted map?
It's faintly there.
I painted that.
Do you want to come back and repeat it?
I would do it if they could.
For real?
I would.
I'll buy the paint. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It was a kit that we got when my kids were in school, and
Awesome.
we were able to get them for Cloverdale and Turner also.
that would really make Zach's year.
Yeah,
We've
because
been talking
it
about
was
that.
very cool. Yeah.
That skills.
Yeah.
Topography.
I would help you. Exactly. I mean, it's just part of learning
Yeah.
what the United States looks like. So, anyway,
So
okay.
back to the flooding question. Yes, it floods. Yes, drainage will need to be put in, so it will not flood.
And where are we getting the money for this? ESSER funds?
Yep, ESSER funds, and Mrs. Johnson has a,
I have a grant, it's a one-time, and I can't remember the name of it, Scott, but, it's a one-time grant that has to be used, it cannot be used on people, it can only be used on materials for special education. And the amount of children that we have coming in this next school year with significant needs, both communication and orthopedically, an inclusive playground is exactly what a lot of these kids need. Kelly didn't touch base on some of those components of the inclusive program, but it allows some of our kids, there's a whole section of it that allows our kids to actually participate in the merry-go-round, right?
Right.
It allows that are wheelchair bound. We have some additional things that are coming in. They're not wheelchair bound, but they're orthopedically impaired, and they can't access your typical playground. Also, Almsville playground is like a giant tripping hazard for somebody who's not orthopedically impaired. And so for some of these kids, and this is a huge deal for our kids. So money well spent, rather than buying more items, utilizing this grant, but it's a one-time grant, it's the best avenue for this playground.
Great.
And when do we expect it to go in or be completed?
well, sadly, I could not convince my salesperson. Mr. Drill told me in our last meeting, it won't happen this summer, and I'm like, oh, yes, it will. But the earliest it would happen is late fall, early winter.
Okay.
Got the seismic grant, with the question about Cloverdale. We've got some things to do, but it's on the list.
Okay.
And you never know, there could be cancellations, so maybe it could happen this summer.
And
Never
what's
know.
the deadline to use the grant?
We have like 1 year to use it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's at the end of next September.
Okay.
So we're just-
We'll have it in my, I
Okay.
want to use the grant.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right,
Wow.
more questions?
That sounds wonderful.
That's gonna be amazing. And this is not part of my report, but I think it's really important for us to recognize that our very own communications director, Madeline Statler, received a very prestigious communications award. And I think that she could share with us about that. Madeline?
Darren told me to bring it over, so I don't know
Yes.
if he wants to say something. But there's 8 communications awards in the state for Oregon's Best, and there's 8 categories. They always go to big districts with big teams. It's judged by the National School Public Relations Association. So this year, Beaverton won 3 awards. The Willamette Education Service District won 3 awards. Oregon School Boards Association won 1 award, and the Cascade School District won. Thank you for supporting communications, and I'm really proud of this. So thanks.
So there's a bit of irony here because she won the award for a specific piece around our bond, which of course did not pass. And while everybody in this room did a lot of work on that internally, right? The person that probably worked the hardest on the bond was Madeline. And she worked her tail end off to make this thing go. And it just didn't quite get across the finish line. But, and while she's always this happy, right? There were a couple days there, she was not very happy. This does not go well. And then the irony here is that that was one of the pieces, that was the piece you won for, which
Yeah.
was sharing with the public. So a lot of people were involved, a lot of community members were involved in that process. But again, back to doing that in a small school district situation. And she mentioned communication teams, right? That's the communication team right there. That person right there. So thank you, Madeline.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, for bringing it up.
And I would like to say thank you to Zach for the acronym list.
Yeah.
That was Kelly.
That was
That was
Kelly.
Kelly.
Okay,
Nice job.
whoever did
You get a lot of points for that.
that,
Nice
it's
job.
like, yeah, I will print it and have it laminated with me every time I come to work. So, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, thank you for that. Moving on is Director of Education's report.
Brad, could I interject some? Brad?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to Mr. Grill
Please.
for 1 minute? I want to, you said that the playground at Almsville is on the list, and I want to talk about the list for just a minute. I just want to put something on the record here.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you have a list and that you're working the list and that you started working that list a long time before I got here. And I'm the newest person at this table and I fully acknowledge that. For the record, it has to be moving to anyone to hear about all the success that is occurring across our district, right? Just story after story after story of really way above average performance for schools. And I am moved by what I hear. I am also by nature kind of a sarcastic, cynical, penny pinching, doubting Thomas kind of guy. And so when I hear what I hear tonight, what I saw today at Turner, I am reminded in a pretty deep way that the job of even of a short-term brand new board member is to be looking forward and to be laying out the path so that these people can continue to do what they're doing for the kids that I love. And that's a pretty serious thing. And so the thing I just want to say is that even in the face of all this success, we barely missed a really serious problem with facilities. And I know this is on your list, Mr. Drill, and I acknowledge it. The Turner facility problem at Turner Elementary, right? We just bought some time. I mean, we're in a good spot there, but there's more to be done there. And the quality of instruction is mind-blowing that's happening in that facility. I hear about Almsville Elementary. Oh my gosh, the facility challenges that it's significant. It's on the list. I am sorry that we lost a 40-year-old portable at Cloverdale Elementary, but right next to it is another 40-year-old portable with all of the same problems that were present in the one that burned. I am not embarrassed by that portable. I'm very proud of it and of all the work that went into creating it and all the people with vision who got it there. It's all good stuff. But I personally want to do as good a job running my very short leg of this race as all those people did. And as soon as Cloverdale gets that one portable fixed or replaced, we've got the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. The newest portable in that that whole lineup there was put in what, 82, I think. So we have massive, massive problems at Cloverdale. The junior, there's a method to my madness, and I know I'm eating into your family time tonight. The junior high, that is not a simple fix, what needs to happen at the junior high in terms of facility. And then I hear we're talking about remodeling room 10A, and we need a room 10A to be a room 10A. You know, so we have Band-Aids going on Band-Aids, and I appreciate that you have the list and that you're working the list. This has all been a long way to say thank you for that. But I want to know who's creating, what are we going to do? It has to be more than conversation. And you of all people know that, and I know that. What are we going to do to work out the tension between bond debt, voter approval, small and shrinking general fund dollars over time? When do we re-wrestle with that? And I realize you all just did, and you just did the bond project, and I realize how much work that is. What do we do now? And when do we have that conversation? And who? I'd like to just hear something to help me be assured that we're doing it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we continue to have that conversation about what is the right time to do. There are people in the audience that have felt tremendously around the bond, right? And the fact that it didn't go, we had people in our community that were actively against the bond. We spent a lot of time talking about, you know, the district didn't manage the last bond 25 years ago. And there's really short of one or two of us that were even around at the time. You know, that wasn't part of our process. There are people that were kind of indifferent to the bond, right? People felt it was too much. And even our committee that when we spent time working on that, really struggled with what that looked like. The intent tonight was for you guys to take a look at those modulars. And I should call them modular, should I, Maddie?
Prefabricated buildings.
Prefabricated buildings. Thank you. And take a look at that and say, is that a way for us to move forward? I don't even know if that's the case. So one of the conversations that this board normally would have in July is what are our plans? What does that look like? Where do we go next? And how do we recalibrate what our next steps are going to be? Right. And for a time, I think it was hard for our community to really look at that and say, you know, in between that, we had COVID, we had lots of struggles. We have people that were struggling financially. How do you do that? It's always going to be those struggles, but how does that square with what we're doing in the big picture? There is a list. Fortunately, Mr. Thatcher, Don before him, we had principals working on it. What does that look like when we got this money? You and I talked a little bit about this idea that we got money, and for most of my career, 27.5 years, for 25 of it, we talked in terms of how do you make things work without any money? How do you MacGyver something into existence? And there are a lot of people in this room that got really good at that. They got really good at putting things together that with no money. Right now we have some money. How do we spend it efficiently? Right? What do we do with it? And in the meantime, while we're keeping the eye on that prize, what does it look like for bigger? We moved from 2,000 to 2,100 students, like I said, to 2,500 kids. We also mentioned tonight in the budget meeting that the money coming in for construction exercise is flattened out. That means there's not as much building at the moment, which means we will probably see a flattening of our increase of people that move into this district. But sooner or later, it's going to do this, right? One, because it's a desirable place to live. And quite frankly, two, you just heard it tonight. You heard exactly why people want to come here, right? All these people here and all of our staff, you know, yeah, there's exceptions. We're not perfect. I get it, right? But we work really hard to make sure that it goes. That's going to attract people here. So we're going to have to take a look at that. I say that not in like someday in the future. It's going to have to be a conversation that, you know, the board starts that conversation. What does that really look like? Where can we go from there? So we'll get there. We'll get there. But when they say it's on the list, it is on the list. Almsville's playground, Cloverdale's modulars after the burn, seismic upgrade in the junior high. We've got to start that the day after school gets out and get it done before we start back to school. And you know, we'll get there. It's just gonna good planning and good timing.
Sorry, Mr. Thatcher. Grace?
You good, Mr. Reamy?
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
Mr. Thatcher.
Hey, everybody. I came to the budget committee meeting, and so you got some of my report then, and if you have questions about any of the SI or ESER. One of the main topics that you need to approve is curriculum adoption for grades 6 through 12, ELA, English language arts. Just real quickly, that process is a little bit different than it may have been 15, 20 years ago. Frankly, ODE, Oregon Department of Education, for your little, you could add that to your acronym there. There you go.
You can only use things on this list from here forward.
All right.
I like that.
Yeah. And so they said, you know what, we're gonna pick a broad spectrum of curriculums that you can choose from. We'll do, and they get input from teachers all over the state, and based on the state standards. So it's not like, hey, whatever district wants to adopt, they can. And they say, okay, so here's your, let's just say 10 that are approved by the state of Oregon. That's when we start, and we get a curriculum committee teams, mostly language arts teachers, in this case, obviously, for the high school, junior high, who put in countless hours in going over both video and interacting with vendors and through our MDSD and going through samples and really narrowing down what that should be, what are the options, what fits us, what fits our district, what fits our needs for the future, what have we been doing that we like, what we want changed, and then try to kind of narrow that down for everyone. And so what happened basically was the elementary or the junior high staff narrowed it down to a couple, and the high school staff narrowed it down to a couple. Took it back to their schools for the rest of all the language arts people to take a look at, some students to take a look at, some community members to kind of review again those top two. So I would say a very extensive process. Again, there's a lot of similarity in these. They all have to meet state standards, and they all have to cover a certain amount of literature, and they all have to meet standards at every grade level. But we felt like we came up with what works best for us in each of the schools, and those are the recommendations for you. Savas, which used to be Pearson International Publisher for textbooks, is the one chosen by the high school, and then Amplify ELA, which is the one chosen by the junior high. Often in other areas, we wouldn't necessarily choose different publishers, but in English language arts, it makes a ton of sense. There is a core curriculum and core literature that can go across all the grades. So it's not like if you take the different science curriculum or different way to explain math, and they got to high school, it'd be lost in translation. This will work great. In fact, Amplify is designed specifically for junior high, and it meets their needs a lot better. So if you guys approve that, we'll go ahead and move forward. And again, used to come out of the general fund, but in this case, we'll be able to take some out of those grant dollars. So if you have questions about the curriculum, or you want to take a look at it, but there's been a real extensive process. I want to thank the English language arts teachers who spent a ton of time outside their regular work hours to take care of that. The last one I'll just mention is the math piece. Some others here. You talked about wanting a few data points, which we have thousands of data points on math. The one that's just a real global picture that I put in there is on that second page. Obviously, we knew you want your schools in that top quadrant, low performance, high growth. And from this standpoint, we know that math was a weakness for us. We know that math is an area that we wanted to improve upon. So we know that we're low in that standard. But we want high growth, and that's where all three schools got. What happens is we have a benchmark inventory, a benchmark exam and assessment that all the kids took in the fall, and then a second benchmark measurement in the winter. And all of those schools are right where we want them, knowing that that's a weakness, but they're in the high growth area. That means what we're doing is starting to take hold. What we're doing is starting to work. And we're still at the beginning stages of it, so I'm excited about the future. Remember, that first stage is really just us having the brand new curriculum, the math in-services they talked about, and 2 exceptional math coaches that work with counselors and teachers to kind of get that curriculum off the ground. Well, the next step is to find out where those weaknesses are, which we'll also find through these assessments, and hire some additional instructional aides targeting just math, just like we do in reading. Now, again, that will also come out of those SIA funds that I mentioned during the budget committee hearing. But what would happen is, just like a response to intervention, just like that multi-tiered system of support that we do in reading, that has really helped our reading scores grow and our reading ability, we're going to take that same tactic in math and the administrators and the math coaches to be able to train these instructional assistants who can work one-on-one in small groups in specific areas where we know that the math students are struggling, that need that extra support, which will, again, I know even further increase our growth. That's just one snapshot. If you want to see down to the nitty gritty about how we think the math program is already working, we can definitely get you to some great work going on there. And that's the next step for next year. So there's a couple other things in my report, which we've already talked about a little bit. Questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to take up budget time, but I noticed on your list, you have the mentor support for new teachers. And I know there's so many things in the world of education that is a constant reinvention of the wheel. And this is one of those in my mind.
Yeah.
I know you cannot find mentors per subject to mentor new teachers, but can we put some emphasis on finding a mentor for buildings instead of, because I know 4 or 5 years ago, we had an elementary mentor that was mentoring new hires for junior high and high school.
Right.
And though it's nice to have someone to talk to, that's about what they're doing. You need to have mentors that have experience at the age groups or, you know, the certain levels that students are at.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you have somebody that's has an elementary background, that's trying to do mentoring for a high school social studies class, it doesn't make any sense. And I was in the building, so I know exactly what you're saying. So, and to combat that in the short term, what we've done is we've given stipends to teachers that already work in the building to help their comrades. Because before it's like, well, yeah, help the guy down the hallway, but who has time and energy. So we give them additional resources to be able to do that. But you're right. The person in the building has to have experience at that level, 100%.
And we did that years ago, and it was a great thing because not only did they have their mentor, but they also developed a friendship with that person. They could go to that person at times that they needed help as a new teacher.
Absolutely, because it's not just about, you know, teaching pedagogy. It's not just about the curriculum. It's like, man, I just had a really rough third period. And what would you do differently? And someone that you could trust. It's not necessarily an evaluator or a supervisor. So to have them right there is critical. I agree. Yeah. Anything else?
Mr. Thatcher, what do we spend a year on our curriculum? What's our budget? I mean,
Well,
I'm sure it's in there, but.
Sure. So we don't have curriculum adoptions every year. So like for language arts, it might be a 7-year cycle, an 8-year cycle. So this 6 through 12 will probably be in the neighborhood of $250,000. So it's around that. I would say then you're going to have to do it for K-5, which is even more expensive because there's a lot more materials. I'd say it's more like probably closer to $400,000 now. But again, that only happens once every 6 or 7 years. And so this is the adoption year. You're required to make a decision about adoption when a cycle comes up, unless you have a drastic reason why you cannot. In the past, we had no money. Lots of districts said, so we didn't adopt. And so social studies didn't make an adoption for like 20 years one time. But we will also do an elementary adoption for English language arts. We're not going to make them implement that in the fall, even if we're going to choose one, because they just did math. And they're just still struggling with that. So if you threw a brand new language arts curriculum on top of those guys right now, they would explode. So I would say English and math are the biggest lift for sure, because that goes K-12. So about, I'd say $250,000 ish. We're getting quotes in right now for this 6 through 12, and probably closer to 400,000 for English. Math adoption, what was it, Don, for? I want to say about $300,000 altogether, because we've added some things even this year. But those are the big lifts. Then there's science and social studies and foreign language, way smaller because it's not a K-12 adoption. But we don't have one every year.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions? All
I
right.
just have a weird question.
Sure.
When was the last time we adopted new curriculum or textbooks for health?
Health.
I elementary.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long, because I know that Stephanie Cox was helpful in selecting that, but I'll find out the exact year first. I can't remember.
Well,
Definitely
you said
is
20 years. That was one of the subjects. And
Yeah.
it's true.
100%. Yeah. For a while, when we all went through the cutting days and all that, nobody got any curriculum.
2010,
Yes.
2018, we didn't do it. We didn't have the money.
Yeah, but I can, in fact, there's a schedule for when each curriculum is due. I'll make sure you guys get that too, but I know health has been way more recent because we have had money the last few times, and I'll find out the date for that for sure.
I think it was during the last adoption cycle for health that we did end up adopting funds because we did pay by, I'm pretty sure, yes,
I think it was the year after Bruce retired.
got a lot about that.
Probably.
Yeah, we timed it just right for it.
Right, there you go.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to 7, personnel. Ms. Morefield.
Before I go through the stuff in my report, I just want to piggyback on your comment about mentors and the conversation. So the district is getting a grant from the state of Oregon. It's a retention and recruitment grant. It's about $300 and almost $23,000. So I'll be meeting with all of the administrators, I believe this week. I've set up a time for us to meet, and then I'll be meeting with union leadership so that we can talk about how we want to use that money to help recruit and retain our staff. There's a lot of different ways that we can use that money. And part of that will be mentors.
Okay, good.
So I just wanted to throw that out there so that you knew that we were also thinking about that as well. Okay, so we have a couple of resignations. Jennifer Zarate from Almsville is retiring. Then we also have resignations from Cindy and Tim Canfield. We have a retirement from PERS. Debbie Leday is going to be retiring from PERS. But as you see from the new staff recommendation list, which I'm trying to pull up on my phone, she is going to be staying for the upcoming school year. She just won't be she won't be in PERS anymore. We have interviewed and hired quite a few people. And so we're bringing those staff members to you this evening for approval. We have elementary teacher Tara Blythe, Ashley Farens, Arnie Louder is going to move to elementary to be a teacher. And we also have, my eyeballs just are not working for me tonight. We hired a husband and wife currently teaching in Idaho. Chris and Chelsea Luttrell will be coming to us. Tara Lynch, Jessica Scholl, she currently works for us, but she was hired in as a temporary Title I teacher earlier this winter. Tara Blythe is also on that list, and she currently works for us. She was an instructional assistant going through her education program, and so we would like to bring her back as well. Mackenzie Smith, choir teacher for junior high and high school. And can't read the last name. Yes, thank you. Temporary math teacher for the high school. Then we also have Carol Fleener will be coming back. She's retired from PERS, and then we have Debbie Leday, who also will be coming back. Both of those positions, once you retire, you automatically come back. If you're coming back the next year, you come back as a probationary staff member, so not as a contract teacher. So do you have any questions?
Questions? No.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on is B, class size recommendation. And that falls to Mr. Drill.
Yeah, so every year we give you guys some class size recommendation information, trying to get that to pop up here, and now it's just freaking out. So basically on the list, you have the information about how that's going to work. What we have done in the past is give you the highlights about this. And what we've done this time, principals have reminded me over and over and over, right, at the elementary level, about class sizes. I reminded them over and over and over about you have to find the balance about making sure that we continue on as we were discussing budgets, right, how that works. So what we've done is I've kind of split the two. We continue with average class sizes of 27, 28 in the upper grades, but at the elementary level, 23 at the kindergarten level is kind of where we're at with that. We made some adjustments knowing that the high school would get larger, and also at the junior high, would be about the same as where we would end up. So that means that when people ask to transfer in, there will be fewer spots. We've talked about this. Our goal is to shrink that number over time, not fall off a cliff, but shrink it as it goes down. So there are fewer and fewer transfers in from outside school districts, which allows more of our students who have moved here spots. So for example, Mr. Dyer's elementary is probably the perfect example. We had set a number last year. We reached that number immediately, and then 6 people moved into this area. We have to take those students. So suddenly the class size is too big, right? When you are basically running 29 or 30 kids in every class at Cloverdale, that makes for a difficult time. So our goal at that point is to do that. At Turner, we had higher class sizes. So what we've essentially done this year, every time we lost a student, at the very beginning of the year, Turner had 412 kids. As of this time, it's 400 kids. About 12 kids have left over the course of the year, fairly normal. In the past, we would have added kids back to hold that 412. We have not. We have allowed that number to kind of slowly work its way down. Right. So that's been our goal, to try to find some level of class size recommendation that makes some sense. If, for example, at the 23 level of kindergarten, if we get to that point and 3 more kids move in, then yes, we have to take those kids and we're up to 25 to 26. And again, our goal for particularly K3 for us is right around 23 to 25, 26 kids. That's our goal. Right? The higher up you go, the higher the number is. And remember, right, people say this all the time, and there's really good research around this. Matter of fact, it is meta research that basically says that while class sizes are very important, and they are, right, when the study came out, the class size information really is not as important as it is about the professional development and effective teacher. So we've kind of gone in that direction, and over time, what we've seen is we've improved, right? We've put our money where professional development is and where we're at with regard to Avid and those things, right? It's always nice to have smaller class sizes. We do not run 40 or 44 kids or 47 kids or 38 kids in classes like districts around us. I know that's happening. And as I mentioned, a number of districts over the next couple of weeks as they deal with their budget are essentially handling their budget through attrition. As teachers retire, they're not hiring them back, but the class sizes are getting. So our goal is to try to find that balance. We're going to drop it by 1 or 2. Next year, we'll try to drop it again by 1 or 2 and try to find that kind of leveled off piece of it. Will there be classes in our district that have a large number because the right number of kids moved in and they're all 3rd graders? Probably. Will we also have classes that have 22 or 23 in them? Absolutely. So that's how that is. Questions on that?
So I do have a question.
Yeah.
Almsville has 4 of each grade level.
Correct.
Cloverdale has 1 of each grade level.
Except for next year, they will add an additional teacher. Mr. Dyer will get to select where that goes. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is he's looking at his kindergarten 1s and 2s for a smaller class size.
To be this year's current kindergarten and this year's current 1st grade, so it'll be a 1-2-1, with the idea that we're gonna have a smaller kinder and have smaller 1st, 2nd grade.
Right. And then Turner has 3 of each except 5th grade.
Correct. In a year from now, they will have a 3rd, 5th grade. So next year they will add 4th grade, so there'll be 3 in 4th grade.
Okay. This year they're adding 3.
This upcoming,
Yes.
this upcoming,
Okay,
that was
and then
part of the
next
yes. And then the following year, we will add a 3rd for 5th grade.
Okay.
And Mrs. Ganfield, we have 4 at every grade level, or do we still have 1 that's working on one? But or is there still 4 at every grade level and 1 working online? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Drill.
Yep.
Moving on is 5C, Budget Committee Member Reappointment.
Oh, sorry. My apologies, I'm trying to get my computer to go. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, that feels right. And we said, what are we at?
5C.
So we had budget committee member reappointments. I'm pretty sure we took care of that by calling.
They're
So
willing to return.
we had 2 or 3 tonight, right? That June was, this year was their last year. So I think we got that part figured out.
Okay. All right, so we're good there.
Mhm.
All right, moving on is 5B, curriculum adoption. Mr. Thatcher.
Which we just shared already, so unless you have any further questions about curriculum, I'm hoping you can go ahead with the resolution.
All right, we got it. Thank you. 5E is the board member applications.
You have all 5 board member applications there. I think we've got one person in the crowd this evening. We had another person that was here for the budget committee, and also and 3 others. You have 5 people you had suggested and recommended that you would do interviews. My suggestion for June would be is that you find the time before we have our regular board meeting to do those interviews.
Okay, so in the past, do we do it the night of, the same night?
You have in the past,
In the past.
so you kind of all do it together at the same time.
Right, so we could in theory do it an hour, start an hour earlier, a little
Hour and a
more,
half early.
an hour and a half early and do,
Set it up that way.
yeah. I think- Anybody have any concerns if we do an hour and a half early in June? Okay, yeah, can we do that? Then plan on that. That'd be great.
That happened.
All right, wonderful. Okay, we're good on that, Mr. Drill?
Yep.
Okay, moving on is the information items. Looks like proof of residency.
So in the same vein as we're having a conversation about class sizes, right? One of the things that we noticed was that we were one of the very few districts, particularly in this area, that don't have a proof of residency form. Almost every district around us goes through a daily or yearly thing where you have to prove that you are a resident in our district. We just haven't done that. And Cheryl came back from one of her meetings and said, you know, we don't do that. And so our response tonight is that we would like for us to begin to do that for starting this next school year. We believe that 98, 99% of the people that live in our district truly live in our district, but we have a few that claim that they live here, but they really don't. When they did live here, then they moved, but they continue to go. So this is a way for us to catch that process. It will require all of our parents to fill out an additional form, which is why we kind of got away from that. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
It's already set up in the registration process. So, and if you look at the information that I provided for you, you'll see that they just have to click on upload a document. And if they don't have it, then that process is defined in that report as well.
One of the things that you guys have said, right, is let's be careful about how many people we enter into the district from outside the district, and we want to continue to curtail that. This is another one of those things. But I checked, when Cheryl mentioned that to me, I checked with some colleagues, other superintendents around us, and they're like, oh yeah, we always do that. I'm like, okay, good to know. So I think we need to move in that direction.
It still is an honor system. We're asking them to attest to this, but we're not, it's not like we're saying, hey, prove it.
But we can.
We can't. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can say prove it.
Okay. So if somebody was questionable, this allows us to ask for more details. Oh, there you go. I see it. Okay. Additionally, I agree to provide one of the following items listed as proof. Okay. Any questions on that? No? All right, then moving on, we've got 8A, approved residency we did, and graduation, June 8th, 7 p.m.
Yep, Federico Field. I'm sure Mr. Rasmussen will help us with a parking pass for you guys. And then we normally ask that you're here at 6:30. So we can start at 7. Okay.
Wonderful.
And then the last thing on here, I've got statement of economic interest. You know that as well.
I do.
So starting next year, I think it's next year, right? January, the school board members have to fill out a statement of economic interest. Basically, the State Ethics Commission will connect you to making sure that there's no inappropriate connections to school district business as opposed to doing business with the school district itself. Superintendents have to fill those out now. I'm required every year to fill out a statement of economic interest. And I have extended that to all you wonderful people. So we will get that information. There is a connection there so you can kind of read about it. Assuming that you don't do business on the side with the school district, it probably takes about 10 minutes tops to fill it out. And it's online. Happy to help you.
And do you want us to fill them out now? What's our expectation?
No, you should be getting information from,
This is
We're gonna put this down.
yeah. They should be sending you an email with the link for you to fill out the form.
Okay.
Usually comes around February.
It's
I'll
due by
I'll
April
remind you. If
15th,
I see it, I'll remind you that it's coming.
That's for the next.
Next year, January
Yeah,
1st,
it's due by-
2023.
I think it's April 15th is the due date for that.
Okay.
Next day.
Yep.
Thanks.
One more.
we're on to number 9, public comment, and we have no public comments today.
None were submitted.
Wonderful. And on
Is there
to
anybody here?
public, we still have to do it in written form prior to.
Still, even if they're here?
Yeah.
Oh, we know that. Okay.
Future agenda items.
How do you guys change?
Mr. Drill, anything we need to plan for in the future? Next, we're gonna do our board meeting early next month to do the interview stuff.
Yeah, you have the interview stuff, and it sounds like on the January meeting, two things. One will be some planning about future planning about what the big goals will be.
Right.
Two in July.
Yeah.
I'm also asking Ms. Harmon to put together an OSBA person to come out from Oregon School Boards Association and talk about roles and responsibilities.
Okay.
By then, John, like he said, we'll have a year in, you'll have a brand new board member. So 40% of your board, right, will be within a year of new. So that's probably time to have Oregon School Boards personnel come out and go through the process for me and for you.
Wonderful.
I think we will adopt an appropriated budget.
Oh, that's right. Yes, thank you. We will also formally adopt the formal budget in June as well, by law.
Okay,
Anything else?
then next is our resolutions. We're ready. We'll start with 8A resolution regarding resignation.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve with regrets the resignation of Cindy Ganfield, Amsco Principal, Tim Ganfield, Athletic Director, and Jennifer Zatari, Elementary, Zarati?
Yep.
Okay, elementary teacher as recommended by administration.
Second.
8A resolution regarding resignations has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8B resolution regarding retirement from PERS.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the retirement from PERS for Debbie Leday on May 1st, 2022, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
8B resolution regarding retirement from PERS has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8C resolution regarding new hire recommendations.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the hire of Tara Blythe, elementary teacher, Ashley Ferens, elementary teacher, Arnold Louder, elementary teacher, Chelsea Luttrell, elementary teacher, Christopher Luttrell, elementary teacher, Tara Lynch, elementary teacher, Jessica Scholl, Title I teacher, Mackenzie Smith, choir teacher, Justin Toe, temporary math teacher, Carol Fleener, English teacher, and Debbie Leday, principal, as recommended by the administration.
Second.
8C resolution regarding new hire recommendations has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8D resolution regarding class size recommendations fall 2022.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the fall 2022 class size recommendation.
Second.
8D resolution regarding class size recommendations fall 2022 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8E resolution regarding budget committee member reappointment.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to approve the reappointment of budget committee members Don Marquez and Wendy Coates for another 3-year term ending June 30th, 2025.
Second.
8E resolution regarding budget committee member reappointment has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8F resolution regarding curriculum adoption.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to adopt the following English language arts curriculum, grades 9 to 12, My Perspectives by Savas Learning Company, formerly Pearson, grades 6 to 8, Amplified ELA by Amplify Education.
Second.
8F resolution regarding curriculum adoption has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 8G resolution regarding board member applicants.
Be it resolved, the Cascade Board of Education moves to interview all applicants that were received by the deadline of May 4th, 2022.
Second.
8G resolution regarding board member applicants has been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, future agenda items. I jumped ahead here. I got that one. Anything else, Mr. Drill, before we're done?
No, sir.
Anything down the row? Nope, we're good. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming this evening. Meeting adjourned.